All right, so most people who end up in Sacramento never plan to actually end up in Sacramento. They were looking at the Bay Area, they were trying to make San Diego work, or they were telling themselves that LA just isn't that bad. Then they came out here for one weekend and drove through a few of the neighborhoods, ran some of the numbers, and something broke open. Not in a depressing way, but in a way was like, man, this kind of feels better. And then that thing that nobody tells you about Sacramento that's happening right now, it's not winning people over because it's the cheapest option, it's winning people over because it's the smartest option. More space, cleaner week, neighborhoods that actually work for your life, and a home that fits your family without the payment feeling like a punishment. We have watched that click for hundreds of families, from Bay Area transplants to young professionals from Southern California who are done paying for the prestige, move-up buyers who outgrew their starter home, or retirees that are looking for that next season of life. And finally, they have real options. So we're Lance and Lauren with the Living in Sacramento team, and we're breaking down exactly why Sacramento keeps winning people over from every other California city right now. So stay with us because this one's gonna be worth it. Now here's the part that surprises people first. Most folks leaving the Bay Area or LA, they're not actually leaving California. They're leaving the version of California that started costing them everything. Too much traffic, too much overhead, too much weeks just going sideways, just trying to do the regular stuff. We were down in Southern California this past weekend and it was nuts. We had to go into UCLA, we had to pick up our daughter's boyfriend. Friday, 3 o'clock traffic, which I didn't even know 3 o'clock traffic was a thing. And it took us 2 hours to get across town. Sacramento doesn't erase California, it just takes out the drag. Now the nice thing about Sacramento is you can hit a Kings game at Golden 1, you can go hit dinner at Doco or Curtis Park, drive through Land Park with some of those big, beautiful, mature trees, and get back to your home without your whole night getting hijacked. Now that matters not in a sales pitchy kind of way, but in a real life, how does my week look and feel kind of way. And here's what it actually looks like when buyers come out here. We had a family drive in from the Bay Area, they were super skeptical, and then they kept saying, we're probably not those Sacramento people. We rolled through some older neighborhoods, mature trees, front porches, grabbed some coffee, then swung into some of the newer areas where the parks were packed with kids and everything just felt easy. Now, somewhere in that drive, one of them looked at us and said, man, I thought this Sacramento was gonna feel like a real compromise, and it actually feels more like us. That is the moment we see all the time. Sacramento stops looking like a budget option and starts looking like a smarter one. Now, if this is your first time to the channel, we're Lauren and Lance with the Living in Sacramento team, where we help people buy, sell, and relocate to the greater Sacramento metro every single week. Whether you're just starting to explore, you're comparing cities and suburbs, or you've already got your boxes packed, you don't have to figure this out alone. We're gonna give you all the intel, the insights, and the crispy B-roll that's gonna let you make the best decision for you and your family if you're thinking about buying or making the move to the greater Sacramento metro. So feel free to reach out. All of our contact information is gonna be down in the description, pinned in the chat, and it's gonna be popping up on that screen. So if you're on your phone, pause the video, screenshot that number so that way you can call us at a later date, or if you're watching this from your TV, go ahead and scan that QR code that's going to be popping up after the phone number. We absolutely love when you guys reach out to us. I know it's super weird to talk to somebody from YouTube, but we help people buy and sell homes in the greater Sacramento metro every single week.
All right, let's talk about what your week actually feels like here, because the biggest surprise for most people is not the house. It's how much easier life runs when you're in the right pocket. Now, a lot of cities give you a great Saturday and wreck your Monday through Friday. But Sacramento, when it fits, it wins on the ordinary stuff. School drop-off that does not eat your morning, a gym that is actually on your route, a doctor, a grocery run, and a dinner plan that can all happen without turning your day into a logistics drill. And there are 2 ways that plays out here. Closer in, you get neighborhoods where life feels tighter and more connected. Places like Tahoe Park, parts of Arden Arcade, stretches near Fair Oaks, older homes, mature trees, local spots, real texture, nothing overbuilt. Then you have the suburbs. And people judge those way too fast. People hear car dependent and assume that means the worst possible lifestyle, but not here. Roseville, Folsom, Natomas, when the layout is right, these suburbs can be seriously efficient. We're talking schools, groceries, gym, pediatrician, dinner, all sitting inside a 20-minute loop. That's not walkability, that's route efficiency. Different thing, but still really valuable. Average commutes around the region can run anywhere from 25 to 30 minutes, but the stat that matters more is reliability. I will take a clean 27-minute drive over some fake 15-minute route that turns into brake lights before 8 a.m. This is still a car-heavy metro. That is just how Sacramento operates. But when your home, your work, your gym, your kids' school, and your go-to dinner spots all sit in the same tight circle, the city plays to its strengths. Now here's a question for you. Now, what matters more in your daily life? Character and being closer to things, or easier parking and cleaner air and run loop? Now, drop that in the comments because that answer usually tells you a lot about which part of Sacramento is actually going to fit you best. Now, we had a couple come in convinced that they needed to be in Midtown or they were going to feel like they traded way too much. We took them through Midtown first, then we cut over to Natomas and then out toward Roseville. Now, by the end of that day, they were not asking us about neighborhoods anymore. They were asking about mortgage payments and school enrollment timelines. That's how fast this conversation can shift when the right area clicks for you.
Now, pick the wrong pocket in Sacramento and you can spend a whole year wondering what everybody else saw here. Pick the right one though, and the region makes a whole lot more sense. A lot of buyers show up here treating Sacramento like one giant middle lane. Pretty nice, pretty affordable, pretty suburban, and all of that falls apart real fast once you start living here. Drive 10 minutes one direction and the mood completely changes. For buyers who want charm, a neighborhood with some actual character, they pull up neighborhoods like Pocket, Greenhaven, Carmichael, Orangevale, Curtis Park, Tahoe Park. Bigger trees, older homes, bigger lot sizes, streets that actually feel lived in, super stamped out, kind of more mature neighborhoods. You're not just buying a floor plan in some of these areas, you're buying the mood. Morning dog walks feel a little bit different here. Evening drives feel a little bit different here. Then you have the suburban workhorses, and these are the ones that we kind of feature mostly on the channel. In some of those newer construction areas, places like Rockland, West Roseville, Folsom Ranch, South Elk Grove, these are where all of the new construction is happening, and this is where we're having some of this absorbing growth because a lot of families want to live in some of these newer neighborhoods and they actually want the kind of lifestyle that comes along with it. School runs, workout at the gym, grocery stores, pediatrician, dinner, back home, parks, playing outside with the kids, playing in the backyard, clean loop, less friction. The market's sorting itself out right now too, so you have a lot of areas that have different needs, wants, different, I guess, demand, lifestyle-driven areas that are full of access. You know, some of those homes in some of those neighborhoods still move in about the 10 to 20 day range. Then you have softer fringe zones, and some of those days can be, 30 to 60 days plus. So big gap, buyers are paying much closer attention to some of this stuff right now. So there's always gonna be these sleepers. They're not gonna win in the thumbnail war, but they make a ton of sense for the right person. Arden Arcade in the right pockets, Fair Oaks maturity without going too far out, Carmichael for the elbow room, without having to jump all the way out to the foothills. And on the other side of the board, you got luxury. You got Granite Bay, Eldorado Hills, parts of Auburn, bigger lots, more privacy, foothill adjacent energy. Not for everybody, especially if your lifestyle doesn't allow you to figure that out, but it's great for the person who wants that breathing room. They want a little bit of that Northern California feel, and they don't mind trading a little bit of the convenience for it. So the real move here is not chasing the best area on paper. It's figuring out which version of Sacramento that actually fits your lifestyle and the lifestyle that you want.
The positive shock for most buyers does not happen when they see the nicest kitchen. It happens when the car fits in the garage, the kid gets a real bedroom, the dog gets a yard, and nobody is on a Zoom call from the end of the dining room table anymore. That's when it lands. Depending on which coastal market somebody is leaving, Sacramento can still run roughly 30 to 60% below what they are used to seeing. That's not some abstract spreadsheet number. That's a real home office instead of a laptop wedged between cereal bowls, a second bathroom that kills the bottleneck before school starts, a backyard where the grill actually gets used, and a lot of the strongest buyer demand still stacks up under that $700,000 range. That is where households can find a workable payment, usable space, and long-term function all in the same search. Not luxury, not fantasy, just function. That is the move. Rates in that 6 to 7% range changed the conversation too. Prices stopped being the only headline and payment took over. A lot of buyers have pulled their ceiling back, widened the search map, and started caring way more about buy downs, seller credits, and builder incentives than they did 3 years ago. The buyers doing this well right now are not chasing the flashiest finished package. They're putting together a deal that still feels smart a year from now. Now, Sacramento gives buyers more than one way to make the numbers work. An older place in Gold River, mature trees, calmer street, a location that saves your week. A newer place in Anatolia, better storage, modern layout, fewer repair surprises down the road. Or something out in Lincoln that buys you more house and more space, but asks for a different commute tolerance in return. Different trade every single time. The question is always the same though. Does this setup make life easier or does it make it harder for you? Because more house on paper does not always mean a better life after you move in. Some trade-offs stay quiet during the showing and get a whole lot louder a few months later once you're actually living in the space. This is the part most people do not think about until it's absolutely too late. We've had buyers push out to a farther suburb for the bigger square footage. Great house, great price, brand new construction. And then a few months in, that commute was eating 90 minutes total each day. The retail was still half built. The neighborhood felt like a construction site. Not a bad choice in theory, just the wrong trade for their actual lifestyle. This is why we always say, pick the right lane first, the house comes second.
Now, usually the trade-offs that mess people up usually don't show up until the house stops feeling new and the whole neighborhood starts feeling a lot normal. Fresh paint, bigger yards, new finishes are great for the first 2 months. Then your real life starts to kick in. The school loops take a little bit longer than expected. The workouts become a whole lot more of a drive. Dinner with friends suddenly takes a lot of planning. So the further you push out, you can absolutely buy more house, more square footage, a newer construction home, but a lot of that give back is going to be time. So you'll have some of these like outer ring pockets that we talk about, and all of that's going to be based off of convenience and some of those things, right? So you're going to have the core of downtown Sacramento, then you're going to have the surrounding named neighborhoods like Land Park, Curtis Park, East Sacramento, a lot of those things. Once you start getting into some of those outer ring, Sacramento County, where you're still in the Sacramento proper, but you're a little bit further out than the named neighborhoods, Carmichael, Arden Arcade, Natomas, pocket areas, Fair Oaks, even Orangevale. Then you go even further out, right? And some of those outer ring pockets, you got Roseville, Rockland, Lincoln, Granite Bay, El Dorado Hills. Some of these outer ring pockets, the commutes can swing anywhere from like 45 to 90 minutes, depending on your job, your route, and when you have to hit the road. So it's definitely nice if you want to be out there and you're a hybrid worker. But the lower the purchase price doesn't always feel cheaper either, because you're paying for it with windshield time or you're paying it with some other kind of thing. So new construction has its own version of this too. So depending on what you're looking for, cleaner finishes, bigger storage, fewer repair surprises, smarter layouts. There's no wrong answer, but some of these newer pockets, the house is going to be done before the neighborhood's done, which means you're not going to have the infrastructure, you're not going to have the grocery stores, you're not going to have some of the chic conveniences, the Starbucks, the donut shops, the pizza places. All that retail is still filling in, and the restaurant options still feel very thin, and the trees look very young. Definitely not the mature Sacramento or even the Northern California foothills that we talk about. But the homes are going to look completely dialed in, and they're still going to feel like there's a couple steps behind, especially in the neighborhood. So some buyers are going to be totally cool with that. They just want the new home no matter what you talk about. Others, they're going to figure out pretty quickly that they wanted more than just the drywall and the kitchen island. So summer will humble people a lot too. So if you're coming from the Bay Area, the coast, Sacramento heat's going to be a completely different animal. So regular stretches in the summertime, June through August, you're probably going to be dealing with anywhere from 90 to 105 degree range. So that's going to change how your backyard gets used. So definitely want to make sure that you have the AC unit. You want to make sure that you have plenty of tree cover. That's going to matter. And you want to make sure that you're kind of curbing those loud utility bills. So the monthly stack will matter. It's not just the mortgage, it's the insurance, the property taxes, utilities, HOA, Melrose, gas if you're pushed further or far out, propane if you're out in the foothills. But Sacramento can still be a smarter value. Even with all of those things added in there, it can still be a smarter value than most of California, but more affordable and easy to carry every month are not going to automatically be the same thing that you're looking for. Now, quick question, drop it in the comments below. What would you personally trade for more house in Sacramento? Walkability, commute, newer construction, lot sizes? That's going to go down in the comments below. We want to know exactly what you're looking for, whether or not you should be even looking in Sacramento, or if you should be looking at one of those other suburbs down the road. All right, so if Sacramento's picking up real steam, then why does it feel like half the state's late to the party? Because if you're only watching half of the headlines, you miss the proof that's right in front of your face. This isn't just noise, it's follow through. Cranes, medical expansion, riverfront development, retail following the rooftops instead of following the headlines.
Aggie Square is one of the clearest examples. Phase 1 alone dropped roughly 767,000 square feet into the Med Center and Oak Park orbit. That changes jobs, foot traffic, and how that whole side of town gets viewed.
The rail yards across the freeway are even bigger, roughly 244 acres, and downtown is still being built into something much larger than its old reputation. Bridge District over in West Sacramento is roughly 188 acres and 5,200 planned homes. Now, it's a serious riverfront signal. Out in Roseville, you've got Baseline Marketplace that covers about 79 acres. Now, when rooftops start pulling in stores, services, and everyday infrastructure at that type of scale, you start looking at the demand for the real weight behind it. Nothing's accidental about any of this, pushing that map forward all at the same time.
And the suburban side keeps proving the point. Roseville, Elk Grove, Folsom Ranch, Placer County, these lanes keep catching demand because they line up with how households actually live. You've got parks, schools, Target runs that do not become a project, grocery options on your route. dinner spots that do not require cross-town commitment. It's not random sprawl. It's community built around people's actual routines and what they already want.
And Sacramento also feels different from all the boom towns across the country that people keep comparing it to. We're not trying to wear an Austin costume. We're not doing Nashville cosplay. The local economy here still leans hard on government, healthcare, and education. It's a lot less sexy on the headlines and a lot steadier when you're trying to build a real life instead of chasing that hot zip code for 18 months. Now, this is why Sacramento's momentum feels different, and it's not manufactured, and it's definitely earned. Now, the people who fall for Sacramento the fastest are usually the ones who never saw themselves here in the first place, and that's the twist. Bay Area families feel it fast. Not everyone wanted to keep paying those elite prices to live packed in tight and call it a win because it's an address. A lot of them wanted a yard, a real extra bedroom, parks that actually get used, and a house that doesn't make you feel trapped. And that's the second that life starts to feel a little bit bigger.
Young professionals get surprised by it too, especially the ones who are done paying for image. They still want dinner spots, games, concerts, weekend plans, enough energy to feel plugged in. They just don't want to torch their future to keep a cooler zip code.
A lot of the inbound demand is still in that 25 to 44 range coming from the Bay Area and Southern California. And that's the stage where people care less about the surrounding impressive and a whole lot more about whether or not the house, the budget, and the week actually work together. Hybrid workers especially feel it here. When the office stops owning all 5 weekdays, Sacramento starts to look a whole lot stronger.
Move-up buyers tend to click here. Not dreamers, people who already learned what does not work. The starter place got tight, the layout got old, the neighborhood looked better online than it felt in real life. Now, Sacramento gives that crowd real options. You've got government, healthcare, and education workers that usually land here. We're talking steadier employment base, less boom-bust drama, more of a place where you can actually build something long-term.
Now, let's go ahead and flip it. If you need dense city energy every single day and hate driving, want that nightlife on demand, and expect Sacramento to feel like San Francisco with cheaper rent, you're probably gonna be massively disappointed. Anyone still shopping for the cheap California like it's 2017 is already missing the boat. This is what makes Sacramento extremely interesting, and it doesn't try to be everything to everyone. It gets really good for people who care more about rhythm than prestige, more about sustainability than optics, and more about how life actually feels than how it sounds where you want to live. And by now, you probably already know which lane sounds the most like you. Bay Area family, hybrid worker, move-up buyer, young professional, near retiree, they all fit for the right person in the right place. But go ahead and drop that down in the comments. We genuinely want to know which one feels the most like the lane that you're looking for. Now, Sacramento's not the city people choose to settle. It's the city where people choose when they want to get honest about what actually makes their life better. More breathing room, a smoother work week, real neighborhood choices, whether you want Curtis Park charm, Folsom convenience, Roseville family flow, or breathing room all the way out towards the foothills, it all makes sense. And a home that fits your life without the numbers feeling like a punishment.
Now, we've seen that click happen over and over again. The Bay Area family that came out expecting a compromise and left saying it felt more like them. The move-up buyer who stopped chasing square footage and finally picked the spot that made their whole routine work. And that is exactly why guessing or waiting or trying to piece this together from random online advice is usually the most expensive move you can make. Not because Sacramento is hard, because this region changes completely from one pocket to the next. And picking the wrong lane costs you time, money, and a whole lot of second guessing.
So if you're thinking about buying a home or moving to the greater Sacramento region, or you're just trying to figure out which pocket actually fits your lifestyle, your budget, your commute, and the type of neighborhood that you want to live in, we are the Living in Sacramento team, where we help people every single day figure this out. Our phone number is going to be popping up on the screen. We are the ones that answer every phone call, email, and text message, and we absolutely love connecting with you guys when you reach out to us. Schedule your strategy session. You can also go ahead and scan that QR code that's popping up on the screen. We love connecting with you guys, and as much as we love making these videos, we actually love helping you more with all of your real estate needs.
And before you go, if you want to learn more about Sacramento, go ahead and click this video here to keep watching more of our content.